Everyone wants an AI personal assistant that manages your inbox, but reality is if your inbox is chaotic, there isn't much that AI can do. You need your inbox to be organized in order for the AI to be able to manage it properly for you. So this is the first step on a video series where I will show you how I usually go about building AI personal assistants that manage your inbox for you, from creating the labels all the way to getting AI to manage it fully, from drafting replies, sending replies, and talking to your customers for you. But this is the first step, the step where we lay out all the groundwork to get this working. But how do you know this is actually going to work? Well, my name is Matt Paiva. I build AI solutions for businesses, especially on the sales and marketing side of things. And I've built this exact solution across industries, from healthcare all the way to personal finance. And I know what the patterns look like when it comes to doing it right. So if you want to build this for yourself, you can just watch this series of videos and build as we go. But if you want me to build it for you and not have to handle with all the hassle of doing it for yourself, just go ahead and book a call with me in the first link in the description down below. So let's get started. So when I talk to business owners about building an AI personal assistant, most of them tell me that they want an assistant that can do everything, that can manage their emails, go to Google Sheets and add data, talk to Asana, talk to their team, and even look at Google Calendar, all through an interface just like Slack or WhatsApp or whatever platform they like to interact with this agent with. But reality is, whenever we look at what out of these tools, which one is the first one that we want to tackle, most business owners tell me that they want to tackle their email first because it's just too messy, it takes too much time to manage, and you receive probably hundreds of emails on a given day. So that's the solution that we're going to be focusing first. And this, by the way, is a board that I created for a client who runs a marketing agency that promotes events and for venues in Australia, and they wanted a system that looked like this. Now, obviously, we wanted to tackle first this part over here that talks about email. And eventually, our goal with this agent is to be able to get it to answer questions just like this, like how is event Y doing in sales? Or did I forget to answer any emails yesterday? Or can you email client X to schedule a meeting and CC Haley, who is someone in their team? And when am I free tomorrow? This is something, all of these things are things that we want this agent to be able to do. But reality is, whenever we're building something like this, we need it to connect to many different types of tools. So the agent needs to be able to find emails, draft emails, send emails, and forward emails. It also needs to be able to get events, create events, delete events, and add people to events. So there's a lot of different things that we need to do. And I often see that this is the first thing that we need to focus on, the email side of things. But whenever I talk to these clients, I often find an email inbox that looks like this, that doesn't have any labels, that just has a bunch of emails here that are not organized in any way, shape, or form. So the first step here is pretty much determining what are the types of emails that we want the AI to pay attention to. Because if we get an AI agent to draft replies for every single email that is coming in and reply to every single email that is coming in, that's obviously not going to work. It needs to be able to understand your inbox and act accordingly. So that's why you need an inbox that is organized and works in your favor. Now, the main way that we do this is by creating labels. And labels are just creating the types of emails that you get in specific categories. So for this client, for example, we had client emails, we had ticket sales, we had Facebook ads, team communications, newsletters, and others. And the way that we create these labels is just going over to Gmail and adding them. But you actually, once you create the labels, not a single email will be added automatically to it. So you also need a system that automatically labels emails. And how do you do that? Well, you can use filters, which are a native Gmail tool, to just create filters based on senders, subject lines, and keywords. Or you can use context labels, which are going to rely on the content of the email and the priority of that email to determine what label it fits best in. And for that, we're going to use make.com. So let me show you how to do these filters first in email, because this is actually the thing that is probably going to unlock you the most, and it's the simplest thing that you can do before setting this part over here up. And by the way, I'm going to be doing all of this live, so we are going to use this email inbox over here, which is a secondary inbox that I have, and we're going to create all of the labels from scratch, all of the filters, and a make.com automation that will automatically categorize newsletters for us. So like I said before, the first thing that you need to determine is what types of emails do you actually receive in this inbox. And if nothing comes up from the top of your head, you can just look at the first 50 that you've received and you will see a pattern. So here, for example, I can see that I've gotten some emails from Fiverr. I can see that I've gotten a newsletter, an email from make.com letting me know that there was an error in an automation, some Loom emails, notifications from Airtable, and so on and so forth. So just looking at these first 50 emails, I can come up with 3 labels right off the bat. Label number 1, we will call newsletters, which are going to be obviously all of the newsletters that I have. And here, whenever you're creating a label, by the way, I'm going to show you, you just need to click on the plus sign over here in labels, it will allow you to create a label, and then you just write the name of that label for you. Once you create that label, you can go over here and change the color of the label, change the priority, and do whatever you want. If you want to change the color, just click on the three dots over here, the ellipses, and go to label color. I want to keep my newsletter as a color that will not catch too much of my attention, so I will keep it in this light yellow over here. Actually, that is too light. I'm going to keep on a darker yellow. Another label that I want to include is make.com errors. So I will include make errors because this is a very important label that I cannot miss. If there is a warning or an error in any of my scenarios, I need to know right away. So I'm going to create make errors over here. And in the label color, I will choose this bright red color. And last but not least, I see that I get a lot of software notifications. So I will include software notifications here as well. And software notifications, I'll just keep it this standard color. Now, this is a very simple way of setting up labels. But the thing is, when you're dealing with a company email, you're probably going to have to set up labels in a different way. I've seen clients set up multiple labels for all of the clients that they have. So especially if you're dealing with a B2B context and every single email that you receive from that client needs to be stored in a specific folder or a specific label, you can also do that. And the good news is that when we set up filters, these actually work really well if you're doing with that approach of creating labels that are related to your specific clients, because you can filter exactly the domain that is sending those emails. Now, this is what I mean by that. Let's go ahead and start creating filters. First things first, what are filters in Gmail? Well, filters just allow specific types of emails that fall in a specific category, either from a sender, have a subject line in a specific way, or a specific type of keyword in that email to be automatically labeled in one of these labels that you've set up. So that means, for example, that if you get an email with @nameofyourcompany.com, you can automatically set that to go to client communications. And the same thing goes for these types of errors. For example, we can see over here that if I click on this error, I can see that the domain that is sending me this message is @us2 .make.com, which is just the server that I'm using in Make, as well as just like make.com as the domain. Now, one thing that I can do to create this filter, and let's say I want to filter all of these types of messages that are just messages that are saying, oh, we encountered an error in this type of scenario, to be labeled under make errors, what I'm going to do is to click on that email just like I have it over here, and then click on this ellipses right over here written more on the top right hand corner of that email. And here you will see a couple options: reply, forward, delete. But the one that we're actually interested in is this filter messages like this. So once we click on that, we will see that Gmail automatically does a search for emails that have this domain. Now, I want to see all the emails that have this domain that in the subject line have the word error, because I only want to filter for emails that have the word error. And if I click on search, it will show me 10 emails with that word error. So I had 14 emails before, and 4 of those didn't have that word. Now, once we have the search over here, I usually briefly look over these emails to make sure that these are the types of emails that I want to add to that label. And I go back to show search options. Now, from here on out, instead of clicking search, I will click on create a filter. And in create a filter, I will click on apply the label, and I'll choose make errors. So this means that all of the emails that I receive, the further emails that I receive with this exact criteria, meaning that it comes from this email address and it has error in the subject line, will automatically be added to make errors. Now, here in these checkboxes, there are a couple other things that I want you guys to take a look at. First, there is this skip the inbox and archive it. This means that whenever I receive an email from this specific sender with this subject line or whatever filter you set up, it will skip my inbox and go straight into that label. This is very good for newsletter types of emails and software notifications because I don't necessarily need to see it in my inbox right away. But don't do this if you are using these types of labels for client communications. If it is a secondary notification that you don't necessarily need to see it in your inbox, but you need them to be organized in a specific way, go ahead and click on skip the inbox and archive it. The other ones that are also important is that if you want to categorize it as a specific type of way, and these could be primary, purchases, socials, these are usually folders that Gmail has set up for you. You can also do that. If you have emails that are going to spam, you can remove them from spam as well. But the main thing here is to get the emails that are going to be received from now on in that label. And how do you get the emails that you already received in that label? Well, you need to click over here on also apply filter to 6 matching conversations. And the 6 matching conversations were those previous 10 were, I think they were in the same thread. So we went down to 6. And as soon as I click on create filter and I click on make errors, I can see those emails here automatically for me. And when we go back to our inbox, we can see that we have that label right over here. And if I only want to take a look at make errors, I can click over here and see all of the make errors that I have. And if I open all of these emails, it will not be bolded here anymore, which means that as soon as it is bolded, it means that I have a new email that I have not read. And that would be the indication that I need to know that I need to come back over here and take a look at the make errors that I've had. Now let's take a look at how we do this same process if we want to label all of the emails coming in from a specific domain. So that scenario where we have at the name of the company.com. And the way you do it is by going over here in your search options and looking for the name of that domain. So you're going to say at and then companyname.com. So when you do this and you search, it should appear all the emails that you have received from that specific company. Now, I know, for example, that I receive multiple emails from this email address over here, which is just a notification email address for Circle. And Circle is just a community platform, just like School, that, you know, a lot of influencers and creators decide to create their communities in there. So if I click on search, we can see that I have notifications from Ali Abdal, from Ben, and from other creators, I think maybe these two mainly, that are getting received over here. Now, let's say I wanted to create another label that is called Circle Communities. I can go ahead and create that label over here. I'm going to label the color as blue. And even within here, I could potentially create a secondary label. So here we could create, for example, Ali Abdal, and I can nest it under the Circle Communities label. So that means that now I can filter by what type of label I'm getting within this label. First, what we're going to do is create that first search, which will have the at notifications.circle.so as the search, and we're going to search all of the emails. It doesn't appear now because I had clicked on the labels first. So let's go back to my inbox and do the same search. And when we have all of our labels over here, we can go ahead and do the same process that we did before of creating a filter, clicking on apply the label to Circle Communities, skip the inbox because I don't need to read all of these as soon as they come in, and apply filter to all matching conversations. So now it looks a little bit weird because it doesn't show all matching conversations, but let's see if I click on create filter, if they will be automatically logged over there. Awesome. So they were all automatically logged over here. So let's say I want to filter it down over here, creating the sub label for the Circle Communities only for Ben AI. I will do the same thing that I did before. I would look up the emails coming in from that same email address, which is notifications.circle.so. And the subject line, I will look for any subject lines that contain Ben AI, and I'll click on search. So we can see that we have a lot of emails coming in with this category and that they're already labeled as Circle Communities, but I want them to be labeled as Ben AI, which falls under this broader category. So what we're going to do is use that same search to create a filter. Here we'll see we have 24 matching conversations. I'll click on create filter, and now when I click on Ben AI, we will see all of those logged over here. And now they should all have the subcategories as well because they are in this label. So right off the bat, we went from an email that had 0 organization to an email that has 4 different labels to organize from. And even one label has nested labels within. Now, you guys might have noticed that all of these labels are based on the sender or on the subject line. So there is that slight limitation of auto labeling using Gmail, but we can get around that and look at the exact content of the email and get AI to label the contents of the email. So let's say, for example, I have my newsletters label, and I don't want to add every single one of the email addresses that send me newsletters into that. So I want the AI to read the email and determine if it is a newsletter or not to automatically add this over here. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to build an automation in make.com. So for our make.com automation, we're going to go with the simplest way possible, which is setting up a watch emails trigger, an OpenAI generated completion module, and an update email labels. So this is actually using the new Gmail connection that is available here in make.com. If you go in make.com and you look for Gmail, you will see, for example, that a couple of the changes that we have is that now the watch emails is an ACID type of trigger, which means that as soon as you get an email, it automatically triggers this automation. Before, it was run on a schedule, so you could check every minute and so on and so forth. And now we have a couple other things. But if you want to use the old modules over here, you can just click on the V4 and go back to V2. As of right now, the V4 is in beta, and I'm recording this on October 15th, 2025, but it looks really interesting so far, and I'm excited to use this. Now, first things first, when we have the watch emails filter, you will first need to create a connection. If you are using a @Gmail account, you will need to set it up in the Google Cloud first, and then connect it over here. It's much simpler to do it if you're paying for a Google domain, as in like an @nameofyourcompany.com, like I've been saying throughout this video. But if you do need to do that for an @Gmail account, there are a bunch of resources on YouTube that you can just go and look up as well. I'll see if I can leave any in the link down in the description below as well. I'll also leave this simple automation available just in case you guys want to grab it, but this is super simple to put together, so you don't even need to click on the link down below to grab it. But what you need to set up over here is just set up a simple filter in your inbox, grabbing all of the emails coming in your inbox. No labels in this scenario because we want to pull all of the emails that are coming in and then we want to label them. And the criteria should be all messages. Now here we can read one email at a time, 10 emails at a time. I'll select one because that will be for the sake of our scenario over here. And in my prompt, I instructed the system to pretty much detect if this is a newsletter email or not by reading the contents of the email. So here we have a small system prompt that just instructs that, a couple different examples at the bottom, which by the way are crucial for this scenario over here, to add examples, especially for categorization for multiple categories and classifications with like 3 or more categories. It is very important to include a lot of examples because it does help a lot. And then in the user prompt, we just have the email content and the output, which will either be a yes or a no. Now from here on out, we're going to use a filter to move forward if the result, or I guess it wouldn't be the result, it would be the text says yes. So if it is yes, if it is equal to a newsletter, then we will update the email label. Now here you're going to need to select the message ID, which is coming from the previous module, and you will select the label that you want to create. Now in a more realistic scenario where you're adding labels dynamically, you can also map this out. So here it would just mean that you need to find the label ID and then do that accordingly. You can include your label IDs in your prompt to keep things easy, but you need to figure out what label has each label ID over here before you do that. If you're just mapping out and you're creating different routes for different types of solutions, you can just do it this way where you select the label that you want to add. So why don't we test this out? I can choose where to start, and I know that I received an email earlier today, so I can select today as the date, and I'll put at like 7 a.m. I think I received the newsletter email today at 7 a.m. And I will run this, and what we should see in my inbox is to see that email automatically get labeled based on our AI response over here. Oh, actually, I realized that this is not supposed to be the text. It's supposed to be the result over here. And now we can actually run that test again for the same date and time. There we go. Before it was looking at an empty answer, which, well, we're getting the answer in the result field over here. So that's what we're going to do. And there we go. It says that it did update the email label over here. So if I go back to my inbox, I should click on newsletters and see the newsletter that I got, AI News Digest, automatically labeled for me. And this is something that we can set up for us in the background to run. And why we're actually doing this is just to interpret the content of that email instead of interpreting the sender, the subject line, or looking for one specific keyword, for example. So this is a much more dynamic way that you can set it up. But like you guys saw before, it is a little bit more complex of actually creating a make.com account, setting it up like this. It doesn't necessarily need to be make.com. You could be doing this with N8N, Relevance AI, whatever you want to do. But this is how you start with your process of creating this AI agent for yourself. And once you do this, just make sure to track the results that your AI is outputting for these labels, because there is a small chance that it will mislabel some emails. So make sure that you have your precision and recall on point. And if you don't know what precision and recall are, I'll leave a video right over here that you can go watch as well in the channel. I made a whole video about those two metrics and how they are the key difference maker in these types of scenarios where we're classifying classifying some type of text content into one or more categories. And that's it. Now you know how to prep your email inbox before you get an AI to actually start interpreting all of your emails, drafting responses, sending messages automatically, and doing all those sorts of things that we want our AI to be able to do. So if you don't want to set this up for yourself, like I said before, just make sure to book a call with me on the first link down in the description below. And if you don't want to put together this prompt, I'll do it for free for you until the end of 2025. So if you watch all the way to this point of the video and you want to get this prompt for free, you want this little automation for free, I'll do it. Just shoot me an email using the email that is down below and I'll do it for you as well. But this is obviously a small gift that I wanted to include only for the people that made it this far. Now, with that being said, that's all that I had for this video. In the next video of this series, we will take a look at all of the other things that I have mentioned. But if you are curious on getting AI to book calendar meetings for you, I've already done a video like that using Relevance AI agents. So just go ahead and click on this video that's popping up over here and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.